And we are live. What's up, traders? What's going on? Welcome back and happy freaky, funky, fantastic, and phenomenal. Doesn't start with an F. I don't care. Friday. Good morning. Welcome back. Hopefully you guys had a really good day off. Juneteenth, baby. What a wonderful holiday. It was a great day off the family. Hopefully you guys had a good day as well. But I hope you guys are more excited to be back to finish this week strong and profitable, baby, because I'm ready to get locked in, get dialed in. Like I said, in the week strong, profitable. We have some good opportunity today. So before we dive into it, hit your boy with a big old good morning, and then we'll dive into it, talk about what we got going on for the day, get you guys prepared. We will be set for a 9:30 market open. A ring-a-ding-ding. Tom, what's up, buddy? Good morning, Mr. Tom, Corey, Tristan, Mike, Anthony, Steve, Kevin. What's up, guys and girls? Good morning again. Happy Friday. All right, so before we dive into it, because we already got the spline of the Qs done, today's going to be an easy peasy, lemon squeezy kind of day. Analysis is already done on the spline of the Qs. We'll rip through it, answer any questions you guys have about the analysis that we've done, and then we'll have a lot more time to look at some individual stocks for today as well. Waller currently speaking, moving pre-markets. Let's go ahead and get them charts loaded on up, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll talk about it. If you're like, Josh, you're not going to break it down live with me again and educate me through the entire process? Not today. We're going to keep it simple, change it up a little bit. Just go ahead and hit those key things on the head with the spine, the Qs. Get you guys prepared. Answer your questions, make sure you guys are clear, and then have more time to go ahead and review some individual stocks and do more Q&A with you guys this morning. If you want to learn that process and you're like, but dude, I need to see this over and over and over again, go into the asset vault. All right, go over to where it says morning market TA session recordings. And you see this? There's probably a good 20, 30 of these recordings in where we break it down from the top down to the bottom multiple times from analysis. That alone will teach you the process, get you dialed in. But now we just have more time in these sessions to do, again, Q&A, talk about the analysis we have, make sure you guys are clear, dialed in. We'll go from there today, guys. All right, so, but before we even talk stocks, all right, we are going to start with our daily devotional, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so if you guys still have access to the Discord, we're still using the Discord for updates, notifications, things of that nature. I'm going to update you guys today with getting our check-ins rolling again. Inside of the Discord, I've just been talking to a lot of you guys. It seems it would be easier to do some of these things in the Discord. So, check-ins, updates, and then our daily devotionals are still being posted on up in the daily devotional channel. So get in there every morning and read them devotionals like you guys used to every single day, right? So today I was reading out of Acts. I've been reading all over the place. I've been Kings 1, Kings 2. I've been Old Testament, New Testament, been all over the place. I even just started something called The Truth Project, which is pretty cool. It's like an old early 2000s little 12-part training series on the Bible, and it's pretty cool, man. I like it. But today was Acts 20, verse 24. And it reads, "However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me. The task of testifying the good news of God's grace." And so this verse is spoken by Paul, the apostle, near the end of his missionary journey, and he's speaking to the elders of the church in Ephesus. That's in Acts 20. And we know about Paul. He lived a life of clarity, conviction. He didn't measure his life by comfort. He wasn't measuring his life by his own personal achievements or anybody's external approval. He measured his life by his mission, the mission that he was led to follow, with one goal: to finish the race and faithfully carry out the task that Jesus had given him, to share the good news of God's grace. This verse isn't just Paul's story. It could be your story as well. God has placed purpose in each of us. We exist right now, this day, for a purpose, for a reason. And that purpose and that reason given by God. And so God's placed a purpose in each of us. Maybe it's not preaching across the nations like Paul, but it could be offering hope to your neighbor. Could be with how you raise your children in faith and leaving a godly legacy, or simply living with joy that just reflects God's heart. What does it look like for you to run your race? Is it waking up with intention every day to glorify God? I mean, hey, wake up, spend 5 minutes in scripture, spend 5 minutes just having a conversation with God, right? It could be something like that. Is it offering forgiveness when it's hard? Is it using your gifts that God's blessed you with, even when you don't feel, worthy or qualified? Is it sharing your story so others can see God's grace through your life? What does your race look like? What is that purpose that God's placed in you to glorify God and to live out that mission that Paul was living out? Your life has eternal value. And when it's lived on purpose for Jesus, the race is not about speed or spotlight or recognition. It's simply about faithfulness. And the finish line isn't fame. The finish line isn't worldly success. It's hearing, hey, well done, good servant. So today, ask yourself, what task has Jesus placed in your hands today? If you don't know, pray. Pray for clarity. Pray for boldness. Pray for joy as you look to walk that path, as you look to start to run your race. Again, not for recognition, but for the sake of grace. Because when your aim is Jesus, your life points others to him. Amen to that. So what is that purpose God has placed inside of you? What does it look like to run your race every single day? And it could be as simple as just waking up, putting God front and center in your life, strengthening your faith with God, leading your children, leading your family the way God has intended you to lead, transforming your mind, not living of this world. What does that look like? Get clear on that. And if you don't know, just sit down, talk to God, and ask, and you shall receive. So that was Acts chapter 20, verse 24. However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task Jesus has given me, the task of testifying the good news of God's grace. That was powerful stuff. What does that look like? What does that look like? What's your race? Hey, God's given me a purpose. He's given me a platform to be on, a platform to speak on. He's blessed me with a skill set of being a really good leader, a really good trader, a really good teacher, to be able to, start an online business and scale it to $47,000 a month, to be able to share those skills. Like, God has blessed me with these skills. God has allowed me to grow an audience on this platform. God has given me the clarity to speak about him to you. I feel like that's my purpose. That's my God-given purpose. That's me running my race, showing up every day, chasing God, strengthening my relationship with God, putting him front and center in my life every single day, leading my wife, leading my children, and hopefully maybe bringing someone a little bit closer to having a relationship with God. That's what it looks like to run my race. I didn't know that a year ago, not until God gave me that peace and that clarity and showed me the path. So sit down, connect with God, get clear on that. But good morning again, if you guys are just now tuning in. That was our daily devotional for today. But now we're officially going to go ahead and dive into the technicals, the charts, the moment you've all been waiting for. So let's get rocking, ladies and gentlemen, all right? Whoa, what the fuck was that? I have never done that before. That was a new one. All right, cool. All right, so here's what we have for today on the Spy, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's go ahead and flip this into a 30-minute time frame, and let's talk about what we have going on with the Spy for today. Actually, let's go to an hour time frame because there's going to be some demand zones I want to show you guys up against these lower time frames. So we will put these trend lines back on because there's a couple of different trend lines that we can run across these lower highs over the past couple of days. But what we're really working with is this zone that we're pushing up into right now here on the Spy. And it's a bit of a larger zone. But it is a very dialed in, pretty key level for today's session. All right, so that zone coming right from the daily time frame is between 596.52 to 597.31. right? And it is a bit of a larger zone, but when I go to the daily and I start to make those little tweaks and those little adjustments, I could probably bring it up a little bit, right? I'd only lose 1 point by adjusting that zone just a little bit and bringing the bottom up. I wouldn't want to adjust the top because I definitely get a couple really good significant hits off that zone. So I'm not adjusting the top, but I can adjust the bottom, and I only lose 1 of those 15 points that we have off that zone. Okay, let's go ahead and readjust it. It's going to be 596.80 to 597.31. It's a lot better. Now we got a nice little tight 50-cent zone, and we only lose 1 point, and that was just, again, Wednesday's low day. But count how many hits we've got off the zone. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You got a lot of hits, right? A lot of hits off the zone, and you got really sharp, significant drops and pretty nice, significant pops off that zone. So it's a very significant zone here on the SPY. And so we've got that dialed in. And that's going to be the Litz line in the sand for today. That is going to be your make or break. Right, so we just don't know where the SPY is going to open at 9:30. We don't know if we're going to open in the zone, above the zone, below the zone. We have no freaking idea, but we're just going to see what price does when price gets to the zone after market open. So if we open at the zone, we'll just, again, have to see what happens and go from there. But it's easy. If we open below the zone and we come up and hit it as intraday resistance, we're just going to look to play some puts off that zone today, guys, because it is a key significant daily zone of support resistance. To the flip side, because we don't know where the SPY's opening. If we gap here and we open here, which would be a slight gap up from Wednesday's close. Let's say we gap up a little bit above that zone and we see price come right down into that zone after market open, and we hold that zone as intraday support, and we have really good price action forming off that zone. What would we want to do? Simply play calls. Where's your target, Josh? Your next daily zone of resistance to the upside. And so where's your next daily zone going to be here on the SPY? Well, it's up between 599.17 to 599.70. All right, so that's going to be your next daily zone of resistance to the upside. And so that's, again, plan number 1. If we open above the zone, pull back into that 597 zone, hold it as intraday support, we're just going to get long up to that 599 zone. It's that simple. Right, if we gap below the zone and we push up into it, hit it as resistance, fail to break above it, we will simply just get short here on the SPY. Where to? Our next daily zone to the downside. Where is that going to be? Your next daily zone to the downside is 594.95 to 595.30. That is your next daily zone to the downside. So as you can see, all we're doing is we're building some plans off that line in the sand zone. And why are we building plans to the short side? And why are we building plans to the long side? Because we do not know where the SPY is going to open. And we don't know how it's going to set up. We don't care how the SPY is going to set up. We just want to see it set up to the long side or to the short side. And when we actually see this taking place in real time, we know what side of the trade to get involved with, whether that's long or short calls or puts. So that's going to be the game plan for today on the SPY. Wait for market to open, see where we're at, and see what we do off that 597 zone, and simply just go from there. All right, last plan on the SPY is getting long at 595. Why would I want to get long at 595 on the SPY? Well, number 1, we have that daily zone of support that sits right around 595. And we do have some hour demand from pre-market. Look at your rally, base, rally here in pre-market session. That left a 1 hour demand zone. And so what do you notice? That daily zone of support is sitting right where that hourly demand zone is. So we already have 2 confluences, 2 reasons to get long at 595. So I already know without a doubt, if we see the SPY come down into that daily zone and we hit that hour demand, I know I want to be playing calls and getting long at 595 here on the SPY today. All right, so that's going to be your third and final game plan. All right, so we're good on that. Any questions on the SPY? Let me know. But we are all set, ready to rock, ready to roll here. All right, let's go ahead and dissect QQQ. So you got a lot of space in between your like best of the best daily zones on the Qs. So I have like 2 pretty significant daily zones of support resistance, but there's not a lot in between. So your lowest zone of support for today on QQQ is all the way down between 521.91 to 522.74. And your most significant top zone of resistance today is up between 532.48 to 533.33. Jared, what's up? Good morning, man. And so we can all see that those are going to be the best of the best areas of resistance to the upside and support to the downside, but there's not a lot going on in between those 2 zones. All right, you can definitely drill this down and find some other decent little levels of support resistance, but there's just not a lot going on. All right, and we can see that it's just been pretty choppy in that big window anyway for the past couple of weeks. But as we start drilling down into our lower time frames, we start to see we've got some lower demand zones and some intraday supply zones that we could start looking to take some trades off of, simply because those 2 daily zones of support resistance are pretty spread out. All right, so those are your 2 daily zones. We're also marking up the bottom of the daily gap as reference as well. So again, we had a gap from Friday into Monday of this week. We already came down and filled the gap on on Wednesday. And we see a nice little gap fill bounce off that gap level just here on Wednesday session. What did we do? We came down, hit the bottom of the gap, we popped. So that gap's been filled, but I still want to see, are we going to continue to hold that 527.72 as support, right? The other thing that stands out to me as well is we got some hourly demand sitting right there at the bottom of that daily gap. So yes, the gap's been filled. We came down Wednesday, we hit the bottom of the gap, we bounced. That doesn't mean we cannot continue to see that level hold as intraday support. So I definitely want to still have that marked up, right? And so again, the bottom of that daily gap is at 527.72. What else do we notice here on QQQ? Well, we got some hourly demand from pre-market. We have this rally base rally formation. So we do have some hourly demand that does indeed sit at the bottom of the daily gap at 572.72. So if the Qs get back down into that level, I definitely want to be looking to play some calls and look to get long if we hold that 572.72 level today, because we also have some of the hourly demand to back this up as well. What else do we have here on the Qs? Well, we have some hourly supply from Wednesday's session. We got this drop base drop formation here on the 1 hour time frame. Do we have anything on a 4 hour time frame? And the impulse out wasn't even that strong anyway, right? Because we had this little rally base drop. Again, it was a decent little impulse out. I could already see the 4 hour wasn't 2 times greater. We didn't break the oppositional leg in. So it's a decent little 4 hour, but we can see some good structure on the 1 hour time frame. So we had those pre-market lows. We push on up, drop, base drop. We break the oppositional leg to the downside. The impulse was absolutely 2 times greater out. That's a pretty good looking supply zone sitting right there, right? Drop, base, drop. We're on a 1 hour time frame here on QQQ. And then lastly, we do also notice that we have this multi-day downtrend forming here on the Qs as well. So go back into Monday's high a day. You got your 2 lower highs here. You get 2 more connection points on Wednesday. And so you're actually coming up into that downtrend right now here in pre-market. And what do you notice about the downtrend? Is the downtrend lines up and intersects with that 1 hour zone of supply here on QQQ. So that gives you a solid confluence that suggests we could hit the downtrend resistance, drop. We could also take out some of those unfilled orders, supply zone, and see a nice reaction to the downside as well. So if we continue to sit below downtrend resistance, we don't get through that supply zone, that's the first area that I'm looking to get short here on QQQ, back down into that 527.72 level. But if we break the downtrend and we pop through that supply zone, I'm going to be hands off until we get back up to that 533 zone of resistance here on the Qs. And that's going to be the second game plan for today, is if we break the downtrend and we break that zone, we're just going to go ahead and remove those two items, right? And just clear the charts out and then sit back and wait to see if the Qs get up into that 533 zone of resistance. And so that zone specifically is between 532.48 to 533.33. So that's that daily zone of resistance, 532.48 to 533.33. And if we see the Qs get up into that zone today, we top on out. We cannot break above it. We'll simply look to get short. Same thing that we saw on Tuesday, right? That's a valid zone. What do we see on Tuesday? Tuesday, we run up into it. We hit it back to back to back. We can't break through it. We drop big to the downside. Same thing applies today. It's still a valid daily zone. If we come up into that zone, tap, 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 we cannot break through it. We see there's more sellers than buyers present. We'll just get short like we did on Tuesday and ride that bad boy to the downside. So that's going to be the next best short, is at that 533 zone. But right now, if we can't break through that supply zone and we continue to sit below that downtrend resistance, this is going to be the best place to start looking for a short opportunity to the downside, guys. And we already know what the long plan is for the day, right? The long is, do we come down into that hourly demand zone, which is also the bottom end of the daily gap? That's right around 527.72. If we see price get back down to that level today, that's where I'm looking to play calls. They're on the Qs. All right. Any questions on the Qs? You guys good? You guys are all set, dialed in on the spine, the Qs. Great. Let's go look at some individual stocks, guys. Oh, IWM. Last one. IWM. Let's talk about it really quick as you guys are typing up those tickers. All right, so we have some of this daily demand down here, right? We have this nice little drop-based rally, so you got some daily demand. And then we do also start to notice that we get some supply sitting right up inside of this daily gap. So check this out on IWM. You got this nice gap here on IWM. Top of this gap is at 213.63. Bottom of this gap is at 212.80. All right, so go ahead and mark up that daily gap here on IWM. And then what else do we have? We have a nice little drop-based drop formation on the daily. So there's your daily supply candle. Now go ahead and flip IWM down into a 4-hour time frame. Do we have any 4-hour supply inside of that daily supply? We do. We have a nice rally base drop. So go ahead and mark up your 4-hour supply zone. And what do you notice? You notice that you have daily supply, 4-hour supply sitting right at the bottom of the gap. And so what do we know about gaps? There's 8 different ways you can trade a daily gap. And one of those 8 ways is you have a gap to the upside. Price pushes up to the bottom of the gap, doesn't break inside the gap, hits the bottom as resistance, and then drops on off. All right, that's one of the 8 ways to trade a gap, is that we try to get inside the gap to fill it, but we don't. We hit the bottom of the gap, we fail to break inside the gap, and we see sellers step in, right? And then we also have 2 other confluences to back it up. We got daily supply and 4-hour supply sitting right there where the bottom of the gap is. So that's going to be the trade for today on IWM, is does IWM get up to that 212.80 level? As long as IWM gets up to that 212.80 level, right, and we fail to break above it, that's where I'm looking to play puts here on IWM today. Off that bottom of the daily gap, inside of that daily supply, inside of that 4-hour supply zone as well. That's going to be the best of the best of the best area to play puts and get short today on IWM, is at 212.80. And so that's going to be my game plan and my play for today on IWM. All right. So you guys are good on that too. What's up, everybody? Rena, what's up? Welcome back. Crack-a-lackin'. All right, what are some stocks you guys want to look at? Yeah, TikTok doesn't let people know that I'm live. It's weird. No one gets notifications when I'm live. It's odd, but we're in it to win it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, what was the first stock that came through? I think it was Apple. Ben Crypto Academy. What's up, brother? Apple. I already looked at Apple this week. Apple looked like doo-doo. The only thing that I've really been watching with Apple is this 195.29 support level here on Apple. And so we keep coming down to that 195.29, and we keep holding that level as pretty decent support here on Apple. And then the only thing that I notice is we're just stuck in a what we call a descending triangle formation on the daily. Now, I don't trade, basic, retail formations like bull flags, ascending triangles, descending triangles. But when I recognize a setup, at least I want to be able to recognize it, understand the odds of the setup, and could it play to the upside or the downside. And so that's what I just notice on Apple when I take a look at it, is we're building some pretty clear lower highs, right? But here over the past couple of months, we've established a pretty nice lower level of support. And so that's what we notice on Apple is we've got really nice support established down around that 195.29 level, but we're building lower highs into it. That's what we call a descending triangle formation. And when we see descending triangle formations setting up on like the daily, the weekly, the monthly, most of the time those lead to breaks to the upside. But when you see these like descending triangle formations on a lower time frame, like a 5-minute or a 15-minute, believe it or not, those lead to drops to the downside. So we recognize we got a daily descending triangle formation here on Apple, and we know most of the time when these break, they pop and break to the upside. And so the break is going to be a break of that downtrend here on Apple. And if we can start to break that downtrend here on Apple, that's when I start to think that we got some really good upside back up into like the 208s and possibly back up into the 220s to start filling some of these upside gaps that have been left behind, right? Like you got this gap up here around 208. That gap could get filled. We got this gap up here between, it's like 214 up to like 220. That gap could get filled. So yeah, I would say we start coming up to fill these gaps that we've left behind, but that's basically all we have on Apple, man. We see the setup, we see the formation, and we just got to sit back and wait and see if we can start to pop and break that downtrend. And if so, look to see where we can enter a trade at that time and start to play some calls up into some of those daily gap levels there on Apple. But as far as actionable trade today, right now, getting in, I just don't see it yet. As far as like a reason to want to be putting on any kind of risk. So it really comes down to just that. Break the downtrend, confirm it's breaking to the upside out of this descending triangle. Wait to see if we get a nice little break of structure, see if we get that nice higher high formation, and then wait for any kind of higher low to set in. And once we see that nice break, we get a higher high on the daily. We can see that would be one leg to the upside. Wait for the retracement. Wait for the pullback. Then look to get long and play those calls, right, for the second leg to the upside. So I definitely don't want to be trying to anticipate the first leg right now at this point in time on Apple. I don't see a reason to anticipate, let's just get long for the first leg to the upside. I would rather say wait to see if we even get that first leg to the upside. And if we do, most of the time we see the retracements, we see the pullbacks, and then we get the second leg push. And so it's going to be easier and safer to just wait to see the second leg and capitalize and trade the second leg to the upside versus being the guinea pig, right, and trying to anticipate the trade down here when the odds are still just not high enough to take any kind of trade down here. So that's Apple, man. That's Apple. It's one of those that look good, that have potential. You just have to be a little bit more patient before you start to step into any kind of trade, in my opinion. Why is my camera all jacked up? I feel like I'm so far away. Yeah, it's all good. Just a weird angle. Odd. All right, what else are we looking at, guys? Oh, cold coffee's terrible without ice in it. How do you change trading view to have daily intervals so I can see the high volume candle? I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Jared. How do you change trading view to have daily intervals so I can see? Like, how do you change the time frame? Yeah, you just go up to where it shows your time frame. It could be on a 1 minute, could be on a 5 minute. I'm not sure what time frame you're on, but just change your time frame to a 1 day time frame, and that's going to show you your daily intervals and show you those daily candles. What platform do I trade with? I trade with Interactive Brokers. Alex, what's up? Good morning, man. I think QQQs look good today, man. We already discussed the queue, so I don't want to spend too much more time going back through the queue since we just spent a good, 15 minutes on it. So now we're just looking at some individual stocks, brother man. Reviewing some individual stocks. But yeah, my long today on the queues, I want to play calls if we see the price get back down to like 527.72. That's going to be the area where I take calls to the long side today. Down around 527.72 if we can see price get there. QQ. All right, what else, ladies and gentlemen? OSCR, I think that was the next one I saw was OSCR. Is it a funded account platform? No, I don't trade prop accounts, guys. I don't think there's anything wrong with prop accounts, but I've been trading for 10 years. All of my accounts are self-funded. So those are self-funded accounts that I trade and manage with Interactive. I don't trade funded futures accounts. But again, like I said, nothing wrong with it. I think it's a great way for a newer trader to come in, make money, and then go self-fund their own accounts at that time. What was that? What was the stock we're looking at? OSCR. OSCR. If I could type correctly, OSCR. There we go. All right. Yeah, this thing's moving up pretty nice. Up around 2182 in pre-market. We closed at 1877 on Wednesday. This thing's had a pretty nice couple of days behind it. I mean, the stock going from $14 up to $22. It's up like, what, 60, 70% right now? We got to go right to the daily time frame and start to pick this bad boy apart. Let me ask you this, man. Are you looking for a day trade opportunity or a swing trade opportunity here on OSCR? Day trade or swing trade on OSCR? And we'll analyze it correctly based on the type of trade you're looking to take. But we're at, what, $22? We're running up into, I already see a lot of that daily supply that we have up here. So there's going to be some leftover daily supply up around 22. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it up. Actually, let me go ahead and flip into a weekly because I just want to look at the weekly for shits and giggles and see what we got. So we got weekly supply right there. Right, nice little drop base drop. So there's your weekly supply zone. I noticed we had a daily supply zone sitting right inside of that weekly. So we can see that we had this nice little drop base drop. Price comes back up, hits those unfilled orders, and then pops to the downside. So that supply zone on the daily already has one hit. So I just want to point that out. It's already got a hit right there. That doesn't mean that those unfilled orders have been completely taken out. I just want to point out that it has a hit. You can still trade the second hit and the third hit off a daily supply zone. That's okay. But we can see we have that bigger weekly zone, and then we have that little daily zone that has a hit off of it. So where's the daily zone of supply? It's between 2154 to 2205. So that's going to be a pretty key level. If you break above it, there's going to be more great potential to the upside with OSCR. Absolutely. If we can't get through it and there's still a lot of unfilled orders left over, I think we start to get a nice little drop and a nice little pullback on OSCR. Where to? At least to Wednesday's high a day. At least back down into Wednesday's high a day at like 1926. Let's go flip this into a 5-minute time frame and let's look at OSCR and see what it's doing. So look at that, man. You see how OSCR ran right up into that daily, weekly supply overlap up around 22 bucks. You see how it hit some of those unfilled orders and then price fell to the downside. All right, so we can see there's some unfilled orders left over. Price comes up, we hit that zone, we drop. That's what you expect to see when you have some overlapping supply. You're running back up into it again for the second time in pre-market. If you come up and you start to fall out of some of that supply again, I would start to be betting to the short side. That's what I would do. I'd be betting to the short side, looking to see price fall out of some of that weekly, daily supply. Again, back down into at least Wednesday's high a day, down around 1926. But here's the deal. If we completely push to the upside through all of that daily, weekly supply, it's been mitigated. There's no unfilled orders left over. Buyers can continue to step in and drive price to the upside. So where could price go next? Well, it's pretty clear that it's going to be up against all of this prior resistance that we had here on the daily time frame, right? All of these prior topping highs would be the next major level of resistance here with OSCR. And so your next major resistance level to the upside is going to be here between 2334 to 2358. That's going to be your next most significant level of resistance to the upside. But do we have any like support resistance inside of some of this supply? We actually do. We actually have a pretty nice little daily zone of support resistance that lines right up with a lot of that daily supply. And so if we take that zone here of support resistance and we extend it out to the left, do we get any more conviction? Do we get any more hits? I mean, we do grind that level of support. We come down, bounce off of it. We drop below it. And then what do we see happen off this zone more recently? We come up into this zone. We break it. We push off of it. We come down, retest it. We push off of it. So you got a lot of good support forming off that zone back in, May of 2024. Then what do we see? We come up into that zone, we break it, we drop back below it, retest it as resistance, we drop on off. So there is a pretty dialed in valid zone of resistance that sits right at some of that supply as well. So that daily zone of support resistance is between 2180 to 2203, right? So you have weekly supply, daily supply, and then you have that daily zone of resistance, and you see those zones, they stack on top of each other. That's given you some really powerful confluence to be looking to take a trade up here around 22 bucks. But what side of the trade you want to get on? It depends on what price does over the next couple of moments here. Like if we do not break above 22, we can't break that zone of resistance. We still have some unfilled sell orders inside of some of that supply. I would be looking to short OSCR to the downside, to that 1926. But if price breaks that zone of resistance and we get through that daily, weekly supply has been mitigated. There's no more unfilled orders left over. So remove those two zones of supply, and this is what you would be left with. You would be seeing a big break through that daily zone of resistance between 2180 to 2203. Then just wait to see OSCR come back down, retest that level as intraday support, and then play it long to 2350 on OSCR. That's what I would be looking to do here on OSCR. Again, I just want to recap that one last time. If you see it topping out at resistance, you can't break it, get short because you're going to drop to the downside, right? If you break that resistance zone and you get through all that supply, I want you to remove those 2 supply zones. I want you to sit back and wait for OSCR to retest that daily zone now as support intraday. Wait for the retest. And then once you see that retest, play it long from 22 up to 23.50 and look to trade the next leg on up. That's OSCR, man. That was OSCR. So, I mean, long, you got about $1.50 that you can catch to the long side. If it sets up short off 22, you can catch about $2.50 to the downside. So either way, there's good room up. There's good potential down. You just got to wait to see how the thing sets up. Because let's be real. You don't know how it's going to set up. I don't know how it's going to set up. Your best trader on fucking Wall Street doesn't know how the stock's going to set up. What do? We wait to see it setting up. It's that simple. Just wait to see how the trade sets up. Is it setting up long, like we just discussed? If so, trade it long. Is it setting up short, like we just discussed? If so, fuck, take it short. Who cares if you're long or short? It doesn't matter what side of the trade you're on. Calls or puts, long or short, doesn't matter. What matters? That you're on the right side of the trade. So, wait for the stock to set up. Identify what side of the trade you should get in on based on what you see, and then take the trade. We're not looking at Forex truths. That was just a small cap stock. OSCR was the ticker. What else are we looking at? Last one. Too many sweats. What? Too many sweats. Too many sweeps? Sweeps? Adobe? Is that Adobe? Or did I miss one? Was it GMS? Okay, GMS was one that I missed. All right, so we're going to go GMS. Looking for a short at its 52-week high. What do I think? I think you're already late to the short, personally. Just based on what I see at first glance. We gap up Wednesday after earnings. We push and we flush. So the only thing that I see right at first glance is we have this gap, right, on GMS. If we start to get inside the gap, would you want to short this to the downside? Yeah, you would definitely want to short this to the downside if we see price get inside the gap. But I just looked to see where this thing's at in pre-market. It's at like 105. Why is it at 105? That's the question, because Wednesday we gapped up and we dropped. So is that what we saw? Yeah, gap up, drop, things pushing fucking massively overnight from like what? An 81 close up to 105. What was the news? Barclays adjusts their price target to 95 from 71. Okay. Trump weighs U.S. role in Middle East conflict. U.S. equity futures, exchange traded funds slightly narrow. What else is with GMS as to why the thing is still pop to the upside? But yeah, there's the gap. We're so far off from the gap, so we got to go back to the drawing board, and we need to see what we got going on. Things at 103. Yeah, those are all-time highs. What do we have up here? Let's go look at a monthly time frame. Yeah, I mean, it's just your all-time highs. I mean, it's not even just 52-week highs. It's all-time highs. But do we have anything here to, like, take a short? There's still got to be a reason to get short, you know? Because we could easily pop and blast through those all-time highs and keep going. But there's got to be some good technical reasons to get short. We know there's no supply at all-time highs, but I'm still going to mark up that weekly supply zone, right? But the rule of thumb is there's no supply at all-time highs, but there's your rally-based drop formation on the weekly. Now let's go finish this up on a daily time frame. You do have your daily supply zone sitting right there, where you have this nice little rally base, big drop to the downside. But again, I want to stress the golden rule, right? The rule of thumb of supply and demand, right? There's no supply at all-time highs. But it doesn't mean we can't see this respected, right? But I just want you guys to tread lightly with any supply zones you see at all-time highs. But we have some weekly, we got some daily supply. That's really all I see. Besides just 105 being all-time highs, at least we got some technical stuff that we see. Weekly, daily supply. Where's the stock at? It's literally just grinding sideways inside of some of that weekly supply. It's already above the daily, so we got to remove the daily. But we still see that we're sitting inside some of that weekly supply. And the top of weekly supply is that all-time high, man. So, I mean, maybe something, right? At least if you want to get short off the all-time highs, okay, it's a resistance point. It's a psychological area for investors and traders. You see people take profits, see people look to get short, scale out over those all-time highs. I mean, you could definitely see a nice little drop on off, but at the same time, I've seen stocks blast through all-time highs and just keep fucking pushing. So that's all you have is you have that all-time high sitting up there at like 105.55, and you got weekly supply. So this is what you're going to have to see on GMS to take a short. I mean, you can do whatever you want, right? But this is what I would need to see to want to take a short on GMS. I don't want to see the market open today, 9:30, and GMS fall, right? Hit that all-time high, hit 100% of that weekly supply zone and just fall. And then give me some kind of lower high formation intraday where I see it fall out of supply off that all-time high, and then I start to see it giving me a lower high intraday, and we start to curl off that lower high. Then I would start to feel confident about playing some puts on back down into that daily gap all the way in the 70s. But if we just break those all-time highs, just watch the stock continue to pop to the upside, because that's what you're going to see take place. That's GMS. GMS. That's what I think about GMS, man. I want to start my own futures account for MNQ or NQ. What's the minimum investment is good? So if you're going to be trading, okay, so it just comes down to risk parameters, right? So if you're going to be trading even NQ, right, and let's say your average risk is 10 points on NQ per contract, that's $200. You had a $2,000 account, that's 1%. No, that's 10%. What am I doing? That'd be a 10%. So if you had what would you need to risk $200? You would need probably like at least a 10K account, right? Because if you're sitting on a 10K account, 2% of that 10K account is $200. And let's be real, $200 is probably like the lowest risk you're going to be able to take on NQ. Like that's one contract giving it 10 points of risk, and 10 points of risk is still pretty tight. That's $200. And that's 2% of a 10K account. And that's right at your max risk anyway. So just based on simple risk analysis and risk parameters and, you know, how you structure an account, you're probably going to need close to 10K to be able to take that kind of risk, regardless of trading NQ or MNQ. You're just going to need proper capital to take that 2% risk, which would be $200 on a 10K account. So that's just where I would say, man, you would need to be for good risk on the account. Gonna follow you a little this morning. You've been trading for 10 years, as have I. I've been trading for 10 years now. Been very good swing trading, but day trading, barely break even. Yeah, follow along, man. Listen to what we have to discuss in these sessions. It'll help you tremendously. Really dial in your ability to take some day trades, man. Yeah, I've been primarily day trading for 10 years. And I do swing trade. Absolutely. I trade futures, options, occasionally shares. I'll sell options for income. And I started my career trading penny stocks, shares on penny stocks. I primarily trade options now. And I do day trade about 80, 90% of my trading is day trading. The other 10, 20%, when I see a good swing trade, I'll pop off and take that good swing trade. But I'm definitely better at day trades than swing trades. I wouldn't say better. I just, there's more opportunities on the day trade side than what I've been seeing so far this year for swing trades. All right, I got to warm up my coffee because this is absolutely disgusting, and I'll be back in like 30 seconds. I haven't had one full cup of coffee yet, and I need my freaking coffee. I'll be right back, guys. Keep the questions coming. Okay, let's get that Zoom fired up, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get rocking and rolling. I'll see you guys in the Zoom set. I didn't even realize it was 9:28. So I'm gonna fire the Zoom up, drop the stream here inside of Market Chatter, get the fresh one loaded, and we'll be all set for today, guys. I'll see you in about 30 seconds.